Microphone check 1 2, testing 1 2 3. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. If you can, welcome in. It's good to see everybody. Today is Saturday, July 12th, 2025. Joe Moser, what's up? Scorpio Rising. Mark, good to see you. All right, guys, we are going to dive into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. This is an open discussion. I think the best way to spark up a discussion is to start with the timeline. So if you guys want to help me in the chat, where does it all start? That's the part I'm struggling with. Do we include Kagan Klein in the beginning of that timeline? If so, do we go all the way back to the creation of the Anthony Shots account? Or do we just stop talking about Kagan Klein altogether? I do find it interesting that right around the same time Kagan Klein is creating the Anthony Shots account, he's also booking a flight to Las Vegas. And then we have the ski mask incident, which we've narrowed down to the Galveston area, Galveston, Indiana, which is near Flora. It's basically between the Kleins and Richard Allen at one point, and Delphi. So, I mean, where would the timeline begin? I think that's possibly where it all started, right then and there. Patty, welcome in. Jari, it's always good to see you. Carrie, hello. Cyber Warrior, Robert Pinnell. Robert from Texas is participating and not watching the replays. Shout out to Texas. Good to see you, Robert. Where are you guys all from? You all know I'm from Phoenix. Where are you guys watching from? Sorry to hijack, but you heard about Koberger's upcoming interview. Family set to get 6 figures. No, I didn't, Scorpio. Hey, this is an open discussion. That didn't take long. As far as the interview, anyway. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's live right now. Sensei, what's going on? Shout out to Sensei's neighbors. What up, neighbors? She Warrior, Miss Dog Lover. I plead the 5th. Indiana, big up. Big up to Indiana. Carrie, Indiana. Koberger's going to talk. I guess money talks about bullshit walks. Yeah, I told you guys that was going to happen. This is playing out exactly the way he saw it. He knew he was going to end up in prison. I mean, he's not a stupid person. From a young age, he was probably torturing animals, fantasizing about kidnapping, killing, all the sadistic items on the sadism checklist. Sorry. So He said, "Well, I'm going to commit as many serial murders as I can, and when they catch me, I'll be a high-profile killer like I've always wanted to be." It kind of goes along with that incel thing too. You know, they have this grandiose vision of themselves, and they put everybody else up to unattainable standards because they don't want to accept you. They want to create a delusion and a reason to hate you. That way they can target you. So there is a correlation between that whole incel thing and people like Brian Koberger. You know, if you won't pay attention to me, I'll make you pay attention to me. Kind of like the Quarter Lane arson sniper. Oh, you guys won't hire me. You won't see my skills as expert tree climber. Well, if you won't allow me to use my powers for good, well, guess what? I'm going to use them for evil. And that's your fault for shunning me. When really these guys are just out of their damn minds trying to create any reason to fulfill these fantasies. Well, either way, any smart psychopath is going to sit there and be like, damn, I can't stop thinking about killing. Well, if I can't stop thinking about killing, that means eventually I'm going to kill, and then eventually I'll end up in prison. That's why Koberger took the path that he did. He just prepared for it. He planned it out methodically and played it out to the T. I think he planned to commit more murders, or the reason that he killed so violently and had so many victims in the Idaho murders was probably because he was expecting to get caught. So he needed to make it count. He needed to be as high profile as possible. Remember, he's like a school shooter type, incel school shooter. You know, the world hates me. I can't get a girlfriend. Even when you look at Elliot Rogers, he's a good-looking kid, comes from a wealthy family, doing all the things he needs to in lives, but holds women to an unattainable standard. When really, if he would have just relaxed and had a good time, he would have made a lot of friends and started dating women. But he didn't want that. He wanted a reason to hate them. Didn't she put together some kind of a horror flick too, Miss Doglover? Scorpio Koberger trying to get the narrative under his control, different type of beast comparing to Richard Allen. Well, the thing is, we don't know what Richard Allen is. We don't know anything about him. If he committed a double murder and didn't leave any of his DNA, that's quite interesting. Quite interesting. How does one do that? I mean, less than 10% or less than 20% of murder scenes contain the DNA of the killer. But if he's so sloppy, and they did find the girls the following day, so everything was preserved. Like if anything was there, they got it. He didn't leave anything? Like, how does that happen? Did he do what Koberger did? Did he get his clothes like all muddy and bloody, get rid of them, and then replace them with very similar clothing? Remember, Brian Koberger lost the knife sheath and then tried to replace it. Hey, we heard you had a Kobar knife. Can we take a look? Yeah, it's right here with its sheath. Okay, so that's not my sheath. Maybe that's the reason Richard Allen was so eager to say, yeah, I was in a Carhartt. Here it is. Here's the Carhartt I was wearing. Go test it. Because the one that I wore out there that day, which is almost identical to this one, has long since been burned up in a fire pit. What's up, Cryptex? Welcome in. I mean, why can't he be a serial killer? If he killed Abby and Libby, why can't he be a serial killer? This person who hides in plain sight so well. He travels too. He traveled a lot. So I guess that's the first question. And that question goes to the chat. Where does the timeline start? My gut tells me it starts right around the time the Anthony Shots profile was created and plane tickets to Las Vegas were purchased. Remember, on the 19th, we got the ski mask incident. Here, I should have a map of that. If not, I'm going to create one. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we got the man looking in the window, February 20th, 2017. That's the day before the Kleins fly to Las Vegas, the day before. Look at the location. So it happened in Galveston. You have Richard Allen's mother-in-law, where the brother-in-law passed away. He was living there helping her. So Richard Allen would have been visiting this location. Here's Peru, 2016. Richard Allen would have been working right here, right next to where the Kleins were living at the time. And then notice the ski mask incident lines right up with Flora and then to Delphi, which is actually the direction that Richard Allen most likely would have taken if he was trying to stay off the main highway, right? Coming from Peru if he was drinking. That could be the reason he came from the direction of Ron Logan's property and the cemetery. Or he was meeting the Kleins there like Kagan Klein confessed. But either way, the interesting thing is it kind of gives you a path here from Peru through Galveston, the ski mask incident, Flora, where we have 4 sisters who were murdered in a house fire, and then 2 young girls who were killed in Delphi. It's like a trail back to Peru. Mentioned Kagan Klein as homage to Crip. What does that mean? The Kleins changing the Facebook dates of Las Vegas trips. Yeah. Also, that's similar to what Ron Logan did, right? Trying to go back and create the alibi. What's up, Fishy? All right, guys. So where does the timeline start? Because if you don't believe that Anthony Shots or Keegan Klein had anything to do with this murder or have zero connection to Richard Allen, then for you, it wouldn't start at the creation of the Anthony Shots account and the purchase of the Las Vegas plane tickets. So, I mean, think about it. We don't just have Abby and Libby being targeted through Snapchat, through the Anthony Shots account. We have somebody in Galveston who's also being targeted. And if the Vegas trip is the deadline to try to produce some kind of a product content, um, maybe a video, photograph, something for one individual's sick viewing pleasure, and that contact, is going to be made in Las Vegas. Well, right around, I don't know, the beginning of February, like you're running out of time. Everybody's wondering, well, why did these crimes happen in the middle of the daylight? Why not kidnap girls in the middle of the night or off the street, or like, why would you do it on a public trail? Crossing that bridge, too, you're basically out there in the open. Maybe they were running out of time. It's now or never. I'm the best in the Midwest. Kagan never confessed to the murders. Get your facts straight, you nonce. Oh my goodness. Ban user and delete their comments. Bye. Later, buddy. I hope it was worth it for you. But this is what happens to trolls like you.
End this quickly. Just reluctant to come out of her corner. Ada left a ward.
Bye now. All right. Or actual persons for traffic. Yeah, it could be trafficking. Maybe the tentacle leads to a very powerful person. James Burke type, connected to politicians. Man looking in windows. Is that the ski mask incident? Yes. So remember, some girl was communicating with Anthony Schatz. She came home, was going to try to meet up with him, thinking it's the cute guy. But really, it could be the same group that killed Abby and Libby, right? Like, hey, the more product that we can bring to Las Vegas, the better. So, hey, we already did this thing over here in Delphi. Let's use the same method and let's find another victim to target, or maybe even attempt to close up some loose ends. After they committed the murders of Abby and Libby, the group of killers is sitting around in a room together saying, okay, well, how are they going to find us? How are they going to tie this back to us? Well, I think they would turn and look at Kagan Klein and ask him directly, like, can anybody trace this back to you? He would have to respond, yes. Like when I targeted Abby and Libby, the person that I used to target them through is a family friend of mine who knows me personally. Okay, well, who is that person? Who can identify you as Kagan Klein? Well, probably her friend or her cousin or her relative, somebody that he may have accidentally shared his name with, and the fact that he was Anthony Schatz. And that's most likely the victim of the ski mask incident. Somebody related to that family that introduced Anthony Schatz to Libby. So that's why you have the incident in Delphi, potentially, right? Possibly. You have the incident in Delphi on the 17th. Then you have the ski mask incident on the 20th. During Kagan Klein's interview, after they raided his home, they said, hey, we know for a fact after running the digital forensics on your phone that you searched for this exact person. So we now know that you have their address. You sought it out. We have the messages. We have your phone activity, looking them up on Facebook, trying to find out exactly where they lived. And that happened on the 19th. Okay, so you have Kagan Klein looking for this person, similar to what he did with the Marathon gas station, right? Showing signs of coercion and scheming, as Holman, Mullen likes to call it. So So I think it's possible, I plead the fifth, that the ski mask creep could be the same group. It could have been the same group of people who perpetrated the murders of Abby and Libby. That same group says, hey, we fly to Vegas, right? We need to have this product out to Vegas by the 21st. Hey, we have time to spare. Why don't we go target somebody else? We'll use the same method. Nobody's going to be able to tie it to us. But they were just unsuccessful. You know, this person had a home. They could lock the door. And I could just see somebody like the Kleins and like a Richard Allen being all stupid and clumsy, like walking around her home, maybe even drunk, like peeking through the window, and then she just happens to catch him. And then when the cops showed up, she's like, yeah, I was talking to Anthony Schatz. Oh, you were talking to Anthony Schatz. Oh, well, Abby and Libby were talking to Anthony Schatz. That's very interesting. And that's when it all started, right there. On the 20th. So that's where my timeline starts. It almost appears as if right around the time Kagan Klein created the Anthony Schatz account, that was when the plan to commit murder was created. We're going to use your little catfish, whatever it is that you're doing, because obviously you're getting away with it. He's been doing it since before 2015. So if anybody was sitting there with Kagan Klein, they're going to be like, how long have you been doing this? Oh, almost 3 years now. You know, I've been doing it almost 2 years. And you haven't been caught yet? No. I use burner phones. I do this. I do that. You know, he's very technical. So if he has a whole crew of people now with an idea in their mind that somebody's going to pay him a lot of money, it'll motivate you. Go look at the Darren Schillmiller case. He catfished a group of people in Alaska and convinced them that he was going to send them a shit ton of money for producing a very similar product and also being involved. He was on the phone while they were committing the murder. They were live streaming it to him. Might even have been using Yubo, if I'm not mistaken. So there doesn't have to be a Mr. Big with a shit ton of money. There just has to be somebody who can convince others that there is. Like, right? Hey, meet me in Las Vegas. If you produce this, 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 and that, I'll give you $100,000. Maybe it really happened. Maybe it didn't. We know that Kagan Klein met with people. Using a burner phone in Las Vegas, he met with a guy on Craigslist. That's the most suspicious shit I have ever seen. And to watch those investigators just brush over it like it was nothing. I couldn't believe it. He's like, yeah, I'm sure you guys want to talk about the guy that I met in Las Vegas, right? On my burner phone. No, Kagan, we're not interested in any of that. Oh, you mean the guy I met it was about weed, right? I mean, you guys obviously know. You obviously know I was meeting a guy on Craigslist, didn't you? Don't you? And they're like, no. Like, well, what are you talking about? So he's interviewing them and they're interviewing him. Just like Richard Allen, right? He told Kathy, just tell him you want an attorney and they'll let you go. Well, don't you want to go too, Richard Allen? So why don't you tell them that you want an attorney and they'll let you go? But no, he says, you go ahead, I'll be fine. Because he wants to know what they know. He's interviewing them right back. And he was telling them to their face that this guy he was trying to meet on Craigslist was a big deal. Like, that's what it was all about. If the investigators just didn't really understand or it didn't ring a bell to them, then he knew that they didn't know shit. He's like, because if you don't know about that, then you don't have the product. was most likely an SD card, if it even exists, right? Hypothetically. And it was flown all the way to Las Vegas and handed to somebody, handed to them, and they probably got paid in crypto or something. Is the window peeper in Cass County? I can't quite tell. Yes, Cass County. Barely. It looks like Galveston is barely in Cass County. Yeah, that is interesting that like a lot of these crimes are in different counties, except the Delphi case. A lot of serial killers will do that. They'll commit murders in different counties, try to keep them from making any type of a connection. Jurisdictions. Juris my diction. Thank you, Jari. Cryptic says Kagan was a big fish in a small pond, but there was maybe a bigger fish. Well, it sounds like Doug Carter was onto something. Like, hey, we've uncovered this huge operation. We'll let you know more. Well, when they started digging into it, it may have led to places that they weren't ready to see. It might have led right back to some of their own departments, maybe even the FBI, honeypots, dark web operations. We know that they exist. We know that they happen. So the FBI is known for letting known criminals go. Low-level people like Kagan Klein. They're notorious for that. That's what they do in these little honeypots. They see all this deranged activity going on, all this CSAM and all these, murder for hire. But they don't do anything until they see the big fish. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the big fish. What's up, Julia? They're still looking into the Kleins. They gave him the maximum 42-year sentence for a reason. Yeah, they did. I mean, we looked at all the other cases very similar to Kagan Klein's in Indiana over the last 10 years. Nobody got anything. That's 3 times what anybody else received for the same offenses. I used to disagree with you, Julia, because I didn't want to say yes just because I thought so. But now I think you might be right. 42 years. Even though I think it's fair, I think all those other cases should have received something similar to 42 years. But really, they were maxing out at like 15 years. Some got life on probation, on sex offend on the registry. But nobody really got more than 30 years that I remember. It was typically 10, 15, 20. What's up, Bryant? Oh, Kagan is definitely a big fish. A big pig fish. No, he's not a big fish. He's just a big pig. But he's a small fish in the scheme of things. Cryptic says, actually, 42 years is nothing if he was actually involved in the murders. Yeah, but he wasn't charged with the murders is the point. The charges kind of represent like he was part of the murders, right? 42 years is what you would expect him. Let's say they charged him with his involvement, and his involvement was just luring the girls and going to the crime scene. We would expect something like 42 years. But he wasn't charged with the murders. He was charged with something completely different. And typically, those same charges for people in Indiana around the same time that he was arrested and convicted and sentenced didn't receive a third, only received a third of what he got for something very similar. What's up, Scott? Only reason I can think of why Kagan and Richard Allen wouldn't be giving up big fish is because said big fish is threatening their loved ones. Well, whoever, if it is a group of people who are involved and Richard Allen's not a lone wolf, then yeah, that's got to be very scary. I mean, look what they just did to Abby and Libby. Maybe there's other crimes that they're involved in that we don't even know about. Especially if you have a child, right? Maybe Richard Allen is terrified that something might happen to his wife and daughter. What's up, CJK? Mark, yeah, red rooms, the dark web. You know, it's, I mean, that stuff's real. There was somebody in Delphi. You guys remember the Norfleet case? He was trading CSAM on the dark web. And instead of going on to his dark web browser, his Onion browser, he accidentally loaded some of his images to his regular browser. And it notified authority, and then they notified authorities. Welcome in, Jamie. Free Richard, free Richard. I don't know why free Richard, but free Richard. All my friends say free Richard, so they're friends of mine and I really like them. So I say it too. Go team, go. Go team, go. Do you think the 42 years might have been for them to have leverage on him so they could possibly force his hand to talk and rat out possible bigger fish in exchange for lowering sentences? I would argue with you a year ago, but now, no, that's exactly what happens. You know, judges, I'm learning, are very political, and they're weaponized. They have a sword to swing, especially when it comes to sentencing. So yeah, you might be right. But either way, before he was sentenced, he confessed to the crimes. He just couldn't back it up. When you have a shitty character, you can't step into a trial and play a character witness. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to believe you. You have to have some type of evidence, preferably scientific evidence, to back up your claims. Grissom Air Force Base, yep. Remember, they took him out of jail. They took him out of prison. Kagan, all right, you ready to talk? Yes, I'm ready to talk. I'm going to tell you everything that I know. He met with the boys, remember? He told Anya, I met the guys. I met with the guys at Grissom. Right then and there, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew he had snitched. Right? I've joined the team. Right? I met with the boys. Nobody uses those terms unless they're on good terms, right? Like they're feeling like they're part of the team. Kagan Klein was taken from Grissom all the way to Delphi. Even with Nick McClelland. So you have the prosecutor and all of the big dogs of the Delphi investigation running around with this fat piece of shit. Probably even gave him a stop to get him some ice cream or something. Take him to the Delphi cemetery, and he's confessing to involvement in the killing of Abby and Libby. Oh, but he's just a liar. Haven't you guys ever heard the story of the boy that cried wolf? The boy that cried wolf was a lying piece of shit. But one day he was telling the truth. I feel like that's what's happening here. Like the one time that the boy that cried wolf is now telling the truth, we've let the wolf into the hen house and just let him walk on in because Kagan Klein, well, he's not telling the truth. He's a liar. Julia, oh, the Wabash. That could go both ways. Maybe he wanted a hotel date with his lady, or maybe there was credence to his potential confession in relation to the Delphi murders. I mean, something's going on, right? With the lost tip. Like the only explanation to the lost tip for me is that crazy story. It could be asinine, but it's an interesting story that Nick McClelland took Kagan Klein, put him up into a hotel, allowed him to have a date with champagne and food for one night. And apparently that's how they were able to get the name of Richard Allen. Well, if that is true, it might be illegal. I don't know. Definitely doesn't sound like something you want to say in a courtroom. Sounds like special treatment or something. Favoritism. But that could explain how, because remember, they took him into ISP custody. They took him out of prison, took him to Delphi. He confessed to his involvement. That same day, they started searching the Wabash River. They're like, okay, Kagan Klein confessed. We're getting somewhere. He says, we're looking for a phone and a knife. All right, guys, let's do this. We can find this. They didn't find shit. 2 weeks later, though, they have Richard Allen's name. How does that happen? Remember, they didn't say, hey, we went and looked at all the old tips. We went back to the beginning. That I could have believed, but they didn't. They concocted some kind of a scheme, I believe, hypothetically, in my opinion, using Kathy Shank as their patsy. So it's not like they went back to the beginning. Remember, she stumbled upon some just random file. She's like, what the hell is this? Oh, this is my drawer for the last like 6 years. Where'd this come from? It's not like Paul Holes showed up and was like some new sheriff in town. Look, guys, you need to go to the beginning of your investigation. No, Kathy Shank found some random folder 2 weeks after searching the Wabash, after we had our only official confession. Craziness. Nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. Is law enforcement legally able to say the lost tip from Kathy Shank? They continuously praise Kathy in the presser. Yeah, but we all know the story, right? The official story is that she just found it. See if I can find her testimony. Frank Sassano, is it open discussion like when people could call in? No, not open panel. Just open discussion. What's up, Dark Side? KK wanting some crazy deal, probably, so they might have just invented the tip. Gave KK 40. I don't know. Kagan Klein would have been screaming out loud. Like, hey, I'm the one that told him about Kagan Klein. Or, excuse me, about Richard Allen. They got that information from me. I mean, what's to keep him from saying that? Unless they gave him something behind the scenes. Maybe they just promised not to charge him with it. And the judge, knowing that he had confessed, knowing the public didn't know it, but I'm sure the judge probably knew it somehow. Maybe she wasn't supposed to know it, but I think Kagan Klein's judge knew it, that he had confessed to the murders. So maybe she dropped the hammer on his ass. What's up, Sensei? Keep up the good work, Sleuth. Another month closer to baby Sleuth. Oh, about 8 weeks. About 8 weeks. Thank you, Sensei. You got it, Jari. So that's where my timeline starts. Creation of the Anthony Shots profile. Right at that same time, they're purchasing tickets to Las Vegas. Kagan Klein begins to lure people, and that's when he starts wanting to meet up, right? Give me your address. I'll send you some Victoria's Secret lingerie. Send you some high heels. But I need your address. And then the witnesses said, well, nothing came. I gave him my address. I thought he was going to send me some cool stuff, and he never did. But one time, he cash apped me $10 so I could buy lunch. And Kagan Klein, apparently, in his case documents, the witnesses said that in some cases, he would show them and teach them how to install Cash App. So he was grooming them 100%. What's up, Frank? Yeah, I remember that. I was wondering what happened to that channel. You guys would had some good topics. If Kagan provides law enforcement with evidence that is not admissible in the court of law, he doesn't receive any deal. Maybe they're waiting for evidence to be verified. Yeah, it could be. Honestly, I think, Julia, they were hoping that once they arrested Richard Allen, that it would kind of all start to fall together. But he kept his mouth shut for whatever reason. I mean, at this point, Richard Allen could have done an interview with anybody, right? Saying, hey, I've been railroaded. I'm 100% innocent. But he hasn't. He said that he's more guilty. He said more of that than towards his innocence. So, I mean, that should speak for itself. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, he's scheduling early, Fishy. Do you have an additional info about KK being an ordained minister? I know he married his own mother, and I have a print screen of his minister license, but no more than that. I don't know a whole lot about it. I wonder what motivated him to do it, unless he's just using it as some kind of a scheme. Being in Vegas, people come out there and they just get married and then leave. Maybe he was just trying to use it as a scheme. Money-making scheme. Yeah, I don't doubt that, Dark Side. Because he's appealing. You think that would affect his appeal? saying that you're innocent? Or is he under like some kind of a rule where he can't really talk? Noticed it was logged out on YouTube one day, and when I tried to sign in, it gave me an error message saying I violated a spam rule or something. Yeah, that's weird. Maybe you got hacked or something. Appreciate that, Frank. Yeah, Julia says it's not hard to become an ordained minister. It's an online course. So if he's in Vegas and he knows people are flying into Vegas to get married, hey, why not? All I got to do is become an ordained minister, and then I'll get all these tourists married, and they'll pay me hundreds of dollars, and then they can go on about their business. Calls came out. His attorneys told him no more talking. I mean, I get that part, but at this point, like, you've been convicted already. Like, when are you going to come out and tell the world that you didn't do this? Like, when does that part happen? Many common denominators with the Kleins and Allen. So much, the DA stated he kidnapped them, which led to the deaths. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons they didn't go for the death penalty, right? Because they couldn't really prove Richard Allen was hands-on. They just could prove that he was the bridge guy. So he's involved. And during his interview with law enforcement, he couldn't stop talking to his wife, Kathy, about other people being involved, or they think he's part of some type of scheming. He kept bringing that up. He's like, I didn't do this, and I didn't help anybody do this. Like, why did he feel the need to keep saying that part? Was it just because they were asking him? So he was making sure he was covering it all. Sensei Sleuth, do you think Richard Allen or his wife will ever do an interview, or do you think he will quietly disappear into history? I'm almost 100% sure Kathy will do an interview. She wants to talk. She deserves her chance to speak, explain her side of things. So I think she will give an interview. Probably soon. I'm thinking. But Richard Allen, I don't know. I just don't know. If there's some bad people at the top of this, he knows who they are. Or at least he thinks he has a good idea of what they're capable of. Okay, what about Richard Allen's email address? Remember, they did a Google search on him. Let me see if I can pull that up. And the email address that they searched wasn't even created until 2018. So what's the point of that? And then during his interview, he said, I had a Yahoo email, but this is the one I use now. I think if they can figure out that, maybe they can find some information about the phone possibly that he was using. I don't know. But here from the trial exhibits, it was created on 2018. So almost exactly a year to the anniversary of the Delphi murders. It's almost as if he's saying, I'm comfortable. I'm going to get back on social media, but I need to create a new email address. But what's the email address in 2017? That's what I want to know. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we only know about 10, maybe 20% of what happened with the murders of Abby and Libby. But yet the case is closed, right? How many other cases are only 20, 10 to 20% settled, but yet the case is 100% closed? I mean, how often is this happening? Where they only have half of the equation and maybe one out of even three perpetrators? How do we know for sure that Richard Allen is a lone actor? He confessed to what he did on the bridge. He didn't confess to why he did it or if he did it as part of a bigger plan. He said, yeah, I kidnapped the girls, brought them down here, forced them to undress. I was scared by the van, forced them to cross the creek, and then I killed them so that they wouldn't talk. How do we know that that's just not his part in a much bigger scheme? Yeah, it's been about a year right here, Darkside. So a year goes by, nobody's even suspecting him. He's come forward. It's been about a year. The cops haven't questioned him. I got a new phone. I'll create a new email and I'll get back to life as normal. So we have entire investigations and investigators closing the book 100%, yet there's only 10% of the information that's even available that they don't even know. Some cases they don't know the why, they don't know how many people are involved. Or maybe they do know. They know, Richard Allen knows, and they all know to shut the hell up about it. But we haven't learned how to do that yet. We haven't learned to shut up. But this will be our 5-minute warning, guys. If you have anything to add, please do so now. If you agree with me, the timeline starts at the creation of the Anthony Shots account and the purchase of the Las Vegas plane tickets. And you think 100% the Anthony Shots account is tied to Richard Allen and the murders of Abby and Libby, let me know in the chat now and also in the comment section for all you coming in late, part of the replay crew. No, not really. It just says Kathy Shank, a retired government employee, volunteer clerk at the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office, played a pivotal role in rediscovering a critical tip in the Delphi murders case. In September 2022, while organizing and filing approximately 14,000 tips received by law enforcement, Shank came across a box of lead sheets in a desk drawer. Among these, she found a file labeled Richard Allen Whiteman, which she noticed seemed misfiled. Right? This is crazy. The tip, dated February 16th, 2017, indicated that a man named Richard Allen had self-reported being on the Monon High Bridge Trail between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. on February 13th, the day Abby Williams and Libby German went missing, and had seen 3 girls. Shank, familiar with Delphi, recognized that Whiteman likely stemmed from a clerical error, as Allen lived on Whiteman Drive and the names appeared transposed. Her attention was drawn to the timing, which aligned with witness accounts of a man seen on the trail around the same time the girls disappeared. Suspecting a correlation, Shank took the file to Tony Leggett and Chief Deputy and the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and lead investigator. This action prompted a renewed focus on Allen, leading to his re-interview, a search of his home, and his arrest on October 26th. It also happened 2 weeks after the Wabash River search. So, the only known official confession which was made by Kagan Klein 2 weeks later. Well, once the search concluded, 2 weeks later, we had the arrest of Richard Allen. And the mysterious lost tip. I'm not buying it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put my head in the sand on this one. I don't think. I just can't. It's not in my nature. I can't ignore it. I can't ignore it. 95. Yeah, I'm about 98%, but I feel like there's a huge chunk we're not getting. How do we go from undercovering Indiana's largest CSAM ring and tentacles to nothing? Absolutely nothing. So we have 100% of the case closed and only 10% of the information. That's what we call justice these days. Scary. We're not as civilized as we think we are. That's for sure. We're not as civilized as we give ourselves credit for. We need a reality check. Nope, Julia, the case is closed. As far as I know, the tip line is taken down. Yeah, Frank. As the kids say, that math ain't mathin'. It ain't adding up. Now, remember, she didn't just find a lost tip. She found a lost tip that was marked cleared in bright red ink, and looks like it was just kind of thrown somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be. So not only that, you had Dan Doolin overlooking the tip. Not one time did he say, hey, what happened with Richard Allen Whiteman? Not one time. It almost appears as if it was covered up, like somebody was helping to hide Richard Allen. Exactly, Julia. And we know how deep this rabbit hole goes. You know, there's sickos all over the world right now communicating with each other using technology that we have no clue about. And using language and links and you know, everything's embedded. They're 2 steps ahead of us. Yeah, it is hard to watch that dark side. It's hard to watch the first actual Delphi murders press conference and to look up there and see Dan Doolin standing up on that stage. And they have a screenshot of the guy knowing damn well that he interviewed Richard Allen. I don't get that. Thanks, Julia. Super chat. It won't be reopened, but if there is evidence that others are involved in the murder, there is no statute of limitations. Yep. So hopefully you guys stay curious. I know I am. And we got a new camera, so those of you who donated, thank you. That was very quick. We didn't get anything special, you know, but it has everything that we need. It's something that we can take on the go and give us much better quality than even that we had before, just for live streaming. So big shout out to you guys who donated for that. I mean, I had this old crappy camcorder for the longest. That's how I started my channel, but it just took a crap. So we got something 10 times better. It's nothing really special, but it's going to fulfill our needs. I'm super stoked. We should have it on Monday. So it's something we can take out in the field too. Boston, what's good? What's going on? All right, guys. If you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Drop a comment and we'll get back to you. If you need to reach me for whatever reason, my email address is sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Make sure you guys go stop by the website, sleuthintuition.com. And if you guys want any merch, shoot me an email. I'll tell you how you can get your hands on some Sleuth merch, t-shirts, hoodies, whatever, hats. And if you want to donate to the cause, you can check out the description. Have a list of ways you can donate. And everybody who's been supporting my channel, thank you. And we're going to keep rocking. And I'll see you a little bit later in the day because we're going live again. Peace.